Mm. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cheyenne's Forum. Today is August 8th, Friday. Here comes my dear friend Tom. Tom, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to our podcast at Friday. I really appreciate
Okay.
it. Sure. Yeah. So before we start, we have so many topics and very important topics. But before we start, I'd like to introduce Tom. He worked in FBI for almost 30 years, and he works as assistant director of FBI for 5 years, and he's retired now. And once again, thank you so much for coming here, Tom.
My pleasure. No
Sure.
problem.
Thank you. So, Tom, we have a big news yesterday. Pam Bondi just announced that American right now we're offering 50 million for information, the leads of to arrest Maduro, the president of Venezuela. So this is huge. And actually, we have so many discussions on this news. But my question is, do you think Maduro eventually will be brought back to U.S. for trial? This is question one. And two is, do you know that do we have any similar action to another country's president that ever being offered in history or this kind of big award?
The only one I can think of offhand is the president of Panama, Noriega, that
Mm,
we went after several years ago and brought to the U.S. and put in prison. He was involved in drug trafficking and other illegal activities in Panama.
mm,
So I don't know what will happen in this case.
mm.
You know, if they try to bring him back, if that works or doesn't work, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I just read a little bit about the detail and said Maduro actually directly contact to this kind of illegal activities. So for me, it's just kind of ridiculous how a president involved to this kind of illegal activities like that.
Normally, if you're going after a head of state, that would, they're usually referred to the International Criminal Court in The Hague and um, or United Nations or some other mechanism. We don't usually have one country go after the head of another country by
Right.
itself without some intervening international organization.
Hmm. So,
So
is it surprise you that American has this kind of action to Maduro?
a little bit,
Why?
just I don't know. There's so many other priorities going right now. To just go after everybody, for all the different things, surprising to me. And I think especially Pam Bondi has been under so much criticism lately, even
Hmm.
from the right, for the handling of the Epstein files, saying, "Oh, they're on my desk," and then they're not on her desk, and they don't, and others say they don't exist, and then some people say they do exist and where are we currently? And then you have the ongoing now negotiations with Ghislaine Maxwell to try to get her 20-year sentence reduced. So we'll see, how the negotiations come with that and what the Justice Department agrees to when it comes to that. And of course, that'll also be a decision that'll go to President Trump to also decide if that agreement would happen or not.
Sure. So, do you mean that she is trying to shift the focus on Epstein file or the focus on some other important issues, for example,
Well,
rather than
there's a continuous amount of important issues.
uh,
So, when she says we're going after one thing, then fine, go after it, make it happen.
mhm,
But, the Epstein file issue has kind of, especially when they handed out those folders and then they opened the folders and their allies went to the White House to get those folders and they were heavily redacted. And, now the claim is that she has named 100 names
right.
of people involved with Epstein that were clients or customers of Epstein
Mhm.
and engaged in the illegal activity with engaging in sex with young people
Mhm.
and traveling to the island and doing all these other things with Epstein. And, let's see what happens with that.
Right. So let's take a look at Maduro part. So is it very often to see at some countries that the president of the country will involve some criminal activities? Is that normal to see, or
Yeah,
it's
it's normal. And you have to remember, if you remember back during George W. Bush's administration, after the Iraq War was started by the United States, there were countries trying to charge him with being a war criminal. And that was rejected by the International Criminal Court, said, wait a minute, present the evidence and don't just, so you couldn't have just one country name the head of the United States as a war criminal. It's not
right?
the first time that's happened, but that's the most recent one that I
Mhm.
can remember when they tried to say that George W. Bush engaged in war crimes because we weren't being directly threatened to be, they cited all the rules normally that apply to international combat. One of
Right.
them being that when a country threatens another country or makes an attempt to attack another country or some of those things that, people were saying in the Iraq war, none of that applied.
Mhm.
Iraq had not declared war on the United States. They weren't trying to engage in any of that, and that George W. Bush just decided that he was going to invade.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. And well, from your point of view, what's the purpose of the American people to do that to Maduro? Is American wants to take him back here for trial, or maybe just want to kill him, or just yeah, change the regime? What do you think the purpose?
All of the above.
Hmm.
Any or all of those options, I think, would be something they'd consider, especially when you look at all of the people, the Venezuelans that have illegally come in into the United States and committed all kinds of crimes and everything, and what happened in Venezuela. Now, the takeover of Venezuela, Venezuela used to be one of the most prosperous, richest countries
Right.
in South America
Yep.
and Latin America, Central America. And
Mhm.
then, they go communist under
Mhm.
Maduro, and now they can't feed themselves. All these other things are going bad there, and they can't take care of their people properly. And you have all of the dissension there going on. And
Mhm.
many of those criminals now, they want to just, okay, go to the United States. You want to get rich, go to America and get out of our country. And we're happy if you do that.
Mhm.
I think that, that's a big difference in what's happening now with Maduro.
Mhm. So do you believe it will happen to Maduro?
I don't know.
Hard to say,
I
huh?
don't know.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think there may need to be more evidence of what he's doing against the United States before that's going to happen.
Mhm. So this is another play just begin. So we'll see.
We'll see is right.
Yeah. And yeah, you talk about Epstein Island. I see some discussion and it's just beyond the imagination how bad it is. It's much worse than what we know right now or what we guess right now. So I don't want to talk about that because it's too um I don't know, too brutal. I just cannot imagine. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think more will have to be revealed about that. And I think with regard to Epstein and Epstein Island and all of that, his
Mhm.
primary coordinator for bringing the clients, the customers, and the
Mhm.
victims to Epstein Island
Mhm.
was Ghislaine Maxwell. And, she's currently serving 20 years in prison and supposedly trying to make a deal with the government, with the Department of Justice. And she's had 2 days long meetings with the representative from DOJ. Um, So I don't know. We'll see where that leads and if they're willing to negotiate in
Mhm.
exchange for her naming names of who she set them up. She put the customers with the victims and
Right.
made all those arrangements, the travel, logistics, all of it. And the 20 years that she got wasn't a lot of evidence presented and everything when they made that deal, I guess, or decision.
Mhm.
And I think now it appears that she's ready to talk, ready to make a serious deal, proffer a serious arrangement. Now, right now, kind of the way it works is she has these discussions, all day discussions, 2 days in a row with a high ranking Department of Justice official
Right.
and lays out all of this information and says, okay, here's what I can give you, what I can testify to if you make the deal with me.
Mhm.
Now we'll see where that goes. If that's what they want, if they want to go after those people and especially the people that were the customers,
Mhm.
they keep talking about the Epstein client list and all of that. But
Mhm.
she can give testimony that she made the arrangements for a particular customer or client to not only whether it was travel to Epstein Island or travel to New York to his apartment in New York or some other property that he owned, but
Mhm.
she made the arrangements, like a dating service to
Right.
set up the girls that were and possibly young boys with the customer.
Mhm.
And so, she wasn't in the bedroom with them when things happened, but certainly she can provide all of the circumstantial evidence, dates, times, travel arrangements, which can then be corroborated by investigators.
Right.
So she can do tremendous damage to the people, that she names.
Mhm.
And then, of course, will they kill her?
Right.
That's the next thing. Is she going to meet the same fate as Epstein?
Sure. Yeah. Talk about Maxwell. I have a question regarding her words. Why can we trust her? Why can we
You don't
trust
have
her
to
word?
trust her. When she puts out the information, then the investigation can go forward to try to corroborate it. So if she says on such and such date, I made the arrangements for a particular customer to
Mhm.
travel to New York or Epstein Island or somewhere, made the arrangements for the girl or young boy that was going to be provided for that encounter,
Mhm.
and then now they can follow that invest up with investigation, see the travel arrangements,
Mhm.
not just flight logs on Epstein's airplane, but commercial aircraft, from wherever the individuals were traveling from or
Mhm.
traveling to. So if they were from somewhere else in the country and they took travel on those dates to New York,
Mhm.
or travel to Epstein Island, that can be discovered under investigation.
Situation. So that means she does not need to provide evidence when she claims something. Is that
No, she
is
provides all the information, and the investigation would go forward to
sure?
try to back up her statement or refute her statement.
Right.
So the corroborating facts of her allegations then would be up to the FBI or some other investigative body to
Mhm.
look into what she said and see if they can prove it.
Sure, sure. So another question, I'm just keep thinking about Epstein is I understand he tried to make friends the bankers, at the financial world, at the political figures, at the entertainment superstar. I understand that part, but why Harvard? Why the scientists? And actually, he has a very good and strong connection with Harvard.
Yeah,
The
if he
principal.
was in a position to make money for them or to contribute to their endowment or get other people to contribute, um, and then to try to enhance his own prestige and reputation that he's dealing on behalf of Harvard, one of the most prestigious universities in the world,
Mhm.
at least up until recently. Uh, but yeah, he's trying to use the name of Harvard, and of course they provided him with an office to use on
Mhm.
the Harvard campus. So they looked at whether he was going to be able to provide political connections for them and cover for them, and of course contribute to the to the endowment to the university.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that that had a lot to do with why he wanted Harvard
So it's like a
and
two-way.
why they wanted him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Benefit each other.
Right.
Yeah. And also yesterday, we see Pembondi appoint DOJ officer Ed Martin to be a special prosecutor to investigate Adam Schiff and Letitia James for the mortgage fraud. Finally, so people
Right.
are that for a long time. So, is this kind of criminal are considered as a felony? Mortgage fraud?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those are serious felonies.
Okay. So what are the penalties if it's true everything?
So there could be severe financial penalties. You could go to jail for mortgage fraud,
Oh,
or
for how?
providing false statements to obtain a mortgage.
Uh-huh.
So when you buy a house or an apartment or something and you want to get a mortgage and you
Mhm.
fill out all of the paperwork, what your income statement is, what your source of income is, your background, if you lie on that, that's a federal felony. And in fact, the FBI is probably the number one investigative agency in the world that would investigate that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
you read, if you're filling out a mortgage application, you read the fine print and you see where it tells all that. This
Uh,
is, if you are lying or if this is untruthful or you provide false information, that's a felony.
mhm.
And it may state on the form that it'll be investigated by the FBI, or it could be investigated by the state
Mhm.
where it's happening, like the state attorney general's office, or both.
Mhm.
So, yeah, these are serious crimes.
Mhm.
And you have now not only Letitia James being looked at for that, but Adam Schiff,
Yep.
where Adam Schiff had, and on those things, one of the things is that there's often a tax benefit for your primary residential property. So you declare, this is my number one property.
Right.
You try to get whatever discount. If you try and get a loan in another state on another property, you can't say, that's my primary property.
You
So
only
that's
have
mortgage
one.
fraud. You only
Right.
get one.
Right. 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 So if convicted, they automatically cannot hold the public office.
Right. When I was an assistant in charge in the San Francisco office during
Hmm.
the 90s,
Hmm.
there was a case there where the U.S. attorney uh, applied for a mortgage for his primary residence, let's say, in San Francisco. And I believe he bought the secondary property, a vacation property in Lake Tahoe area.
Hmm.
And on that mortgage application, he listed that one as his primary.
Oh,
And he ended up, I think, being charged. I don't think he went to jail, but he lost being U.S. He lost his office, his reputation, you
everything.
name it, because he listed two properties as primary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a serious allegation, especially depending on how the tax laws are at that time for
Hmm.
the benefit on your primary.
Hmm.
That you may get a big discount on your primary residence, any mortgage payments you're making, or the interest on that,
Hmm.
and you can't declare. And it's very in that application
It's
when
very
it
rare, right?
very serious. And when it asks if is this your primary residence, I think on the print on the form it'll say you better not be listing another property somewhere else
Really?
as primary.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
So now the allegation that Adam Schiff did that, the allegation that Letitia James did that in New York,
Mhm.
um, it's pretty serious. So, and it's interesting is those are not hard allegations to prove
Exactly. That's
because you've got the form, you've got the paperwork, you've
right.
got their effort to fill it out, their
Yeah.
signature, and on their signature, this is all true and
Huh?
to the best of my ability and all of that. So if you lie on that,
Right.
you have mortgage fraud,
Yeah.
uh, and then you have fraud of the documents. So
Right.
for using false information from bank accounts or other, you can add wire fraud and other aspects of fraud to
Mhm.
it.
Hmm.
and public corruption. So these are serious crimes, serious charges
Hmm.
against James and against Schiff at the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, just like you said, I totally agree. It's a very clear-cut cases,
Very clear and very easy to prove.
black and white. So why we have named a special prosecutor to do the easy case?
They're trying to just show that it's not a political motivation because Schiff,
Mhm.
for example, and Letitia James named themselves as enemies of Donald Trump
Yep.
directly. They
Hmm.
lied about him, what he did, and how he did it.
Hmm.
They tried to prosecute him over and over. You
Hmm.
had Adam Schiff throughout the Russiagate years, the last 8 years or so, saying, going on national TV, going on the Sunday morning shows, I
Hmm.
have the evidence, serious evidence against Donald Trump and what he did and how he did it. And the person, the anchor of that show would say, well, what is it? Can you show it? No,
Hmm.
like in due time, I'll show it. Well, he didn't have anything. He was lying.
Yep.
So he made himself pretty much an enemy of the people, but absolutely an enemy of the Trump
Mhm.
campaign.
Right. Right. So yeah, people like Adam Schiff, he's simply a bad person.
True.
A bad,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I just wonder why people just don't realize that and have him to become the Senate of
Well, that goes back to, Trump derangement syndrome. You could have Satan rise up from hell and declare, Donald Trump is my enemy, and many people in this country would be in favor of Satan. Yeah, we agree. We're on your side. If you're against Trump, we're with you. And that's kind of, Schiff and many others that are like that embody that. That just they want to declare war on Trump, even if they have no evidence, make it up, lie.
Mhm.
But there are enough people out there that hate Trump so much that they'll go along with that.
Yeah. So someone just saying that stupidity is kind of crime. And I
Yeah,
totally agree with that.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is happening at Texas. Texas AG, I like his guy. He's cool, he's brave, and he has very clear mind. And he just announced that he gonna start opening investigation of uh Texas Majority PAC. So this is heavily found by George Soros always. And then you know what happened in Texas are the Democrats flee the state on Sunday to stop midterm redirection. So I just wonder if the law allowed these senators to escape the meeting. So why this is illegal? Do they have right to just not just
They're elected and have a duty to perform in the legislature of Texas, do their duty. So they
okay?
decide to obstruct the legislative process and flee
Right,
the state. And as
right.
long as they're out of state, there is no quorum in the legislature there. Without the quorum, they can't hold the meetings and discuss the redistricting of the congressional districts. Now, what's
Mhm.
interesting is that Texas, several years in a row, have been redistricting to favor Democrats. And you
Yep.
hear it in California and Illinois and other states where they gerrymander, they
Mhm.
redraw the lines on the map
Mhm.
so that you have, when they have the election in those states and the Republicans might have gotten 40 or 50% of the vote,
Mhm.
and yet they only have, 2 seats out of
Yeah.
50 or no seats or something like that, to where
Mhm.
it's clear that the way the map was redrawn
Mhm.
by the Democrats for the Democrats was
Mhm.
designed so that they were going to have a lot more sitting members of the legislature in that state than they
Mhm.
would normally be entitled to. So I
Mhm.
think that's the issue that they're trying to do. Now, the stupidity of the Democrats is they think if they don't have a quorum, therefore the legislature can't meet and pass laws or do a redistricting.
Right.
Therefore, it'll never get redistricted to take away the gerrymandering that they have themselves done
Mm-hmm.
for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And the joke of that is at some point, they're going to have to go back to work, or the governor can start the move to get them removed. Now, I
Right.
heard today where the head of the Democratic Senate in Texas
Mm-hmm.
has said, okay, as of now, normally they don't get that much money, but the pay they get is direct deposited into their bank accounts. So he announced no more direct deposit. You have to come here and pick up your check in person.
Oh,
So that's one big factor. So a number of things that they can no longer do if
mm-hmm.
they're not in Texas or if they're not at the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what are they going to do? And you have the governor can initiate the process to have them removed,
Yeah, right.
have them lose their seat. So there are all kinds of penalties that are going to kick in
Mm-hmm.
for those Democrats if they don't go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making their big grandstand show, and they go to Illinois or
Yeah, they
other
just
states where they're going to be supported.
mm-hmm.
Pritzker in Illinois, a prime example. If
Mm-hmm.
you look at the congressional map of Illinois,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jeremy, or Texas or any of these states, that was already drawn by the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so horrible that you can have a congressional district that's 200 miles wide
So
when it doesn't need to be more than 5 or 10 miles wide, but they've redrawn it to benefit themselves. Now what they don't want is having it redrawn to be fair,
right,
to
right,
be fair to everyone. They don't want that because they know if that happens, they're going to lose seats in all these states. The Democrats will lose congressional seats.
right. So
They
how
need every single one, or they're going to lose any
yeah.
competitive ability in those states.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Tom, to tell us the whole story, actually, the background. I just wonder how could that happen in the first place to draw some so weird district in order to favor Democrats? How could that be allowed? How could
I
be that?
think I think Mesa it possibly is complacency of excuse me, the Republicans in that state that just stood by and let the Democrats control this. Could be, but well, let's have peace. Let's all just get along. So what? How big of a deal is it? That's one big deal. And the second kind of related issue that, Trump now today announcing, and he's been talking about this for a while, but the way the census is done,
Oh, yeah, right, big
they
time.
allow states, the Census Bureau, to count illegal aliens
Hmm.
as residents of that state.
Right.
Now, they're still illegal. They still can't vote. But what happens is that their numbers add up to make the population of various districts bigger,
Hmm.
therefore giving them entitlement to more congressional seats.
Hmm.
And then the idea is that the illegal immigrants won't vote, but other Democrats will. And you'll end up with, a disparity of the number of seats held by Democrats compared to Republicans.
Hmm.
And the percentages are outrageous in those states.
Hmm.
So the idea that, Trump saying you are not allowed to count illegal immigrants
Hmm.
as residents for the Senate, I mean, for the census,
Hmm.
because if they're counted in the census, then that state will get more congressional seats.
Hmm. Right.
Even though the seats themselves can't be voted on by Democrats, I mean, by illegal immigrants, they can be voted on by other Democrats. So it really tremendously bends the numbers in favor of the Democrats if they allow illegal aliens to be counted in their population.
Exactly. Exactly. That is very important for the election integrity.
Right,
So,
very.
and also talking about censors, we actually count the legal people here in the States. So that include citizen, include criminal residents, and include the legal non-immigration visa holders. But when we talk about election, we only count citizens. So on the sensors, do we have a number that only the citizen mount? Do we have it, or we just have the citizen and the permanent residency and legal non illegal immigrants together as a body of the American censor?
The polling locations should have the list in each district of all the citizens of that district. And
Okay.
so when you come in, whether you show your driver's license or some other identification, and your name is on that list as a citizen, then you can vote.
Oh,
But
I
if you're
see.
not a citizen, you're not on the list. So if
Okay.
you come in, even with a driver's license, because in some states illegals can get driver's license,
Exactly. Like in
they can
California.
come in with their driver's license,
Mhm,
and the government official at the table
mhm,
can go through the records and say, no, you're not a citizen. You're not listed as a legitimate voter in this state or in this district.
mhm, mhm.
And that
Yeah,
would keep them from being able to vote.
sure. Yeah. You know what? They happened, the activities happened 2024 election in California. Anyone just show the driver's license and then you can get votes. And
Right.
you cannot, if you ask about the proof of a citizenship, and you will be charged. This is
Yeah.
what Newsom signed as a law in California. So
Right.
California,
Normally in the United States, each state can determine the requirements. And so there have been so many, uh, I guess, motions or suggestions that that be unified across the country, that every state requires proof of citizenship. And every time that comes up and the Republicans bring that up, you hear these Democratic
yeah.
leaders start screaming it's discriminatory and all of that.
Mhm.
And, but that's the only way to ensure fairness that illegals don't vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just like you said, Tom, this is a belong to each state. So
Right.
how can federal government do something good to try to help this states like California? We do need help because our law is you cannot ask him for the proof of citizenship one vote, which is ridiculous. But how can we do? How could the federal government help California to
The
make sure?
federal government's pressure to try to change these things is through, the tax payments that get sent to that state. How much federal aid gets sent to California,
Okay.
and can they start reducing it or setting fines for other things that aren't happening? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that, more and more, Trump is more inclined to do that, put
Mm-hmm.
financial penalties on these states
Mm-hmm.
if they don't try to ensure integrity in the elections.
Mm-hmm. So money talks.
Absolutely, always.
Right. Right. Yeah. So something about Putin and Trump. Okay. So seems like they're gonna have a meeting together. And do you think this has some potential to quickly end the Russian-Ukraine war if they meet each other in person?
Well, yeah, but when you hear those discussions about having that meeting, they say, but we're going to include Zelensky, you know, so it
Mhm.
won't just be bilateral Trump and Putin. But I think this is one area where Trump is vulnerable because he bragged before the election he could end this the first day. And now he's been president 6, 7, 8 months,
Right.
and there's still no progress. And the US is still sending weaponry to
Mhm.
Ukraine.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of advisors were saying back last summer, last fall, if
Hmm.
Trump really wants to end the war, stop funding Ukraine. And
Hmm.
Putin, you remember when Tucker Carlson went to Moscow and met with Putin?
Hmm.
They had that highly celebrated meeting. And Putin made it pretty clear then that if Trump really wanted to end this, stop giving money and aid and weapons to Ukraine and they'll stop.
Hmm.
And that would if Ukraine is no longer in a position to attack Russia, which they continuously have been doing,
Mhm.
then that'll help speed up ending the war and that Putin would back off. But they've almost, to me, they've almost given Putin no choice. He's gotten no benefit unless he attacks
Mhm.
and keeps attacking.
Mhm. So the meeting will maybe end up nothing happen or nothing big happen.
Probably.
I see. So, yeah, I agree with you that Trump said that he can end up the war immediately or in pretty short time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, but still we did not see that. Is that because he thought this is so easy, or some other thing happened, or some other pressure on him that he has to change his action or his plan to end the war? What happened?
I don't know. I don't know what caused Trump to back off when he said no more weapons, no more aid to Ukraine if they keep doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you remember back at the very beginning of this thing, the whole issue was Putin saying Ukraine has to promise to not join NATO. He didn't want American and European weaponry right on his border. That if they
Mm-hmm.
don't do that, we won't invade. We'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's not ever happened. And in fact, you have Ukraine with weaponry right on the Russian border, and they're launching drones and they're launching rockets and missiles into Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost directly contradictory. So here you have Putin sitting there, and his population is telling Putin, "Hey, do something. Be
Mm-hmm.
more aggressive. Crush Ukraine, basically, and maybe this will stop."
Mm-hmm. Right. So talk about the weapon. Joe Biden has give a lot of weapon, a good one, directly to Ukraine. And right now, what Trump did is he sell this weapon to NATO and or UN, and UN pay for it and gave the weapon to Ukraine. So this is a different way to have the weapon reach to Ukraine. The difference is on the Biden, we do not got any money. It's just gave to them directly. From Trump, we actually got money. We sell this weapon to UN, and UN give it to it's indirectly to go to Ukraine. So, do you think it's because of the money or some other thoughts
No,
behind?
I think trying to do it that way is just smoke and mirrors, practically. NATO is not extremely wealthy.
Mm,
And, the weaponry that we're talking about, and I think part of it is that a lot of the stuff that Biden gave Ukraine was old weaponry. We're cleaning out our closets and say, okay, you can take this, you can have that.
mm,
And so now what exactly is NATO providing the money for or providing the weapons for? Now you
mm,
look at Ukraine now, all of the various drone attacks on Russia, they're saying that Ukrainians have gone across that border into Russia and
mhm.
they're launching those drones from a short distance within Russia.
Right.
So they're not even launching it from Ukrainian soil.
Mhm,
So, so now you have this smoke and mirrors about where's the weapon coming from and what can it do and all of that.
mhm,
And Russia has really, Russia has gone soft on Ukraine, even though they've moved, slowly and steadily,
mhm,
territorially with land.
mhm,
But Russia has hypersonic missiles that cannot be shot down. They
mhm,
can't be shot down by Ukraine, the
mhm,
US, the
mhm,
UK, NATO. So you've got, instead of these drones that are, going 200 miles an hour, you've got hypersonic missiles going 7,000 miles an hour and they can't be shot down.
mhm,
They hit the ground, they hit the target before the radar in that country even knows they're in the air.
mhm,
So, so if anything, Putin's been holding back on using that kind of weaponry. And
mhm,
when assistance is coming from the UK, which it is to Ukraine, as well as the MI6 in London,
Mhm.
CIA in Washington. When they're providing all of this support to the Ukraine, you know, Putin legally, by rules of war, he could launch those hypersonic missiles into Washington, London, Paris, Brussels. He could launch those and say, okay, you're sending all this stuff against us, and you shouldn't be doing that.
Mhm.
And that's what we're gonna respond.
Right.
And that's where, remember 6, 8 months ago, all the talk was we're going to start World War III
Mhm.
because Russia could then, those hypersonic missiles that they're launching right now are not carrying nuclear weapons, but they could.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Russia could easily send a nuke into London. Nothing they could do about it, or Paris, or Brussels, or Frankfurt,
Mhm.
Warsaw, any of those countries that in any way provide aid to Ukraine,
Mhm.
Russia could obliterate those cities, and
Mhm.
they haven't. And
Right.
it'd be perfectly easy for them to do it.
Right. Right. So, from the beginning of the war, Putin asking for the four area to go back to Russia, and the NATO cannot move forward to Ukraine. That's the two things Putin asking for. And I read a report yesterday that said Putin said again that end the war is so easy, just two things. As before, as 2 years ago, I have not changed a bit. So if
True,
you guys can do that, and I can stop the war immediately.
true.
So it's back to the zero, right? From zero. So what's going to happen if Ukraine just still don't agree with that? So we do not see the end of the world,
I
of
think
right.
to me, what'll happen is what's happening now is that Russia is moving inch by inch by inch closer to Kiev. And if they go into Kiev, then they can move south on Odessa, which is a seaport Ukraine has on the Black Sea. And it's really the only one. So if
Mhm.
and Russia, that was Russian ownership for hundreds of years, Odessa.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if
Right.
Russia took back over Odessa
Hmm.
and all of that area along the Black Sea,
Hmm.
then Ukraine becomes landlocked.
Hmm.
There's no way to get weapons into them by water. They can
Right.
send it on airfare or on railroad, fly into other cities and then put it on trains to go in. They can do a lot of things that way, but it's
Hmm.
not going to be efficient. And they certainly won't have the ability
Hmm.
um, to use the Black Sea port like Odessa.
Hmm.
And therefore, Ukraine can be starved more easily by being landlocked and having their seaports cut off.
So
So,
then, yeah. So you mean that right now Russian is actually control two or three cities already, right?
yeah, the Donbass region along the eastern border of Ukraine and Russia,
Uh-huh.
pretty much they control that. But, the main other areas on the border further
Hmm.
north in Ukraine are not controlled.
Hmm.
Not as
Hmm.
easily controlled. And I think Putin is just hoping that the U.S. will get tired of supplying them stuff
Hmm.
as all of our old equipment is used up. Are we going to give them our newest weapons?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's another issue. And I think and again, Ukraine is sitting, I mean, Russia is sitting on nuclear weapons,
Hmm.
hypersonic missiles that can carry those nuclear weapons and cannot be stopped.
Hmm.
That's right there. That's tremendous.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you would think at some point we would just say, Ukraine,
Hmm.
Zelensky, you're on your own.
Mm-mm. Right, right. And there is a saying, Tom, among the Chinese community that Putin has the stronger support from China, and the military force is mainly from China, meaning that China give Putin a lot of money and also the military weapon support. Do you believe so, or do you think China has that kind of a good advanced weapon, or this is just belong to Russian
I
himself?
don't think China wants to use their weapons or go into war in Europe with their weapons at this point, especially when they're, looking at Taiwan and are they bluffing? Is that going to happen or not?
Hmm.
But I think that, China, where's China get all their oil from? The Middle East.
Yeah, right.
So, so that's one of the reasons is they want to keep oil flowing, and especially if Russia is going to supply a tremendous amount of oil to China, then that's going to help them be good allies with each other. Doesn't necessarily mean China's going to come to Europe with their weaponry and use it,
Mm-hmm.
but they could.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, weaponry includes oil and gas.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Exactly. So talking about the oil, India right now is a one of the biggest buyer of Russian oil and also the tariff. So it seems like these 2 days, India people are so angry about the high tariffs. So what do you think about the strategy that Trump is playing here with India?
I think the tariff strategy worldwide has been very effective. And
Mm-hmm.
normally the countries, he says we're going to put a 50% tariff or whatever, and then they eventually negotiate it down to 15 or 20%,
Mm-hmm.
like NATO. I think the deal with NATO is a good example where they're looking at that NATO can absorb 15% tariffs with no problem, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll still make money. So that's kind of how the Trump administration, I think more and more economists now have come around and said, Trump was right about tariffs.
Yeah, exactly.
That we've made a lot of money, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of advantage, and most of the countries have just rolled over.
Mm-hmm.
And the countries now, that are left are China and, a few others, but we'll see. We'll see where that ends up.
Mm-hmm. So do you think there is some space between US and India to negotiate with the tariffs if India still keep doing business with Russia?
Yes.
So you think American
Oh,
maybe
there's always space.
so this is a art of deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tom. Thank you. Time flies. See, almost 1 hour.
No, I know.
Yeah. So yeah, we yeah, do you think we can do that on next Tuesday as always?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I do have some other questions so I can ask you in the coming
Okay.
yeah, coming Tuesday again. Thank you so much. I'll do the Chinese version as soon as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
very much. We'll see you Tuesday.
yeah, see you. Thank